define ambiguity as something that has two meanings, and vagueness as something that has a multiplicity of meanings. It can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And this is something that's really prevalent in our society. So I can find it really interesting. So what I first want to talk about is how to explain what you mean. And often we cannot. Our terms are inherently vague and cannot be precisely explained. Many definitions are circular. Examples abound in the dictionary and law books. We develop an understanding of what we think the terms mean through culture and context. We'll try to convey to you what I know about the subject. The explanation, of course, will be vague, though. In the natural world, you can think about everything is analog, not digital, it's continuous, and it's not discrete. Humans in natural environments have little difficulty with this. It gives computers and bureaucrats quite a fit, though. For example, if it gets too cold, we just put a coat on. But there's no precise definition of too cold. So how do we know when to don a coat? While environmental temperature is a continuum, but a coat is on or off, it's a discrete event, we have no serious difficulty managing the problem. There's no precise temperature for putting on a coat, and that's just fine with us. And this doesn't necessarily convey in all situations. I'm going to go into that a little more in depth, but for now I kind of want to direct your attention to these three squiggly lines on the board here. Three curves. Curve C over there is the way that many of our leaders, particularly those involved in pushing absolute morality, would like for you to think the world runs. Things are either in black or white with no shades of gray. For example, you can kind of think of the legal alcohol content in your body that you can be drunk at, that you can have is 0.1%, which is just an arbitrary assignment, and as such, I believe it's being changed to 0.08 or has been. I don't actually know this. Okay, cool. So that's that idea. Here, curve A is the way that most things are. It's a smooth transition from cold to hot, to black to white, bad to good. There's no particular point is obvious. There's a point set to break. There's no point on here which definitely changes. It's not a putting a coat on and taking it off sort of thing. And then curve B here represents a situation where the parameters of interest vary smoothly, but there's a small area in which it changes rapidly. When we have such a situation, it would be reasonable to set the good or bad breakpoint somewhere in that region of change, which is something that occurs a lot. We try to assign, we try to nail it as best as we can, but at the same time, we still have a lot of leniency on it. A good example of this is death. And while we like to think that organisms, particularly humans, are either dead or alive, there is actually a small region in which there is vagueness, hence legal issues resulting from this have lots of different issues in this sort of situation where people are arguing over whether or not he was actually dead or he is dead at the time of said event, in which there was a lot of complications and conflict. And so what does all of this mean? And problems here develop when we have a situation that is best described by curve A, a naturally occurring event, but it's forced to look like curve C by assigning an arbitrary breakpoint. And an example is the speed limit. Above a certain speed, the government says it is bad, and below that speed, it is good. Now, really, the damage to property resulting from a crash varies smoothly over quite a wide range of speeds. Therefore, the speed limit, as assigned by the government, is purely arbitrary. So what, you say? Well, unfortunately, the forcing of continuums, typically curve A into curve C function, does cause problems in large structured societies that we live in. Left to free individuals, putting on a coat isn't a problem. But what about controlled groups such as the military? Soldiers as a group are ordered to put on their coats. To To avoid problems, this order will most likely be based on some arbitrary but fixed temperature or an arbitrary date. A much more serious example is the arbitrary assignment of the legal age for voting. The right to vote probably ought to be determined by a person's knowledge of the issues, not some arbitrary age. And kind of the government is determined that it's okay to get killed in some meaningless politically inspired war at an age younger than voting. This isn't really anything new to anybody, I feel, at this point. And kind of to go in with this, I don't know, there's a little anecdote, some of you may or may not have heard of it. But it goes like so. A man offers a virtuous young lady $1 million to go to bed with him. She says, well, it would be a disgusting act, but for $1 million, I will do it just this once, as I do need the money. But then he says, well then, would you do it for $20? She screams back at him, what do you think I am, a whore? He responds, what you are has already been established. What we're doing now is negotiating a price. In general, even though the world is naturally continuous, we find that we must quantize, or discretize if you like, our view of much of the nature in order to avoid difficulties in a rule-based society. We quantize the age for buying alcohol, drinks, getting married, getting into school and the military, drawing pensions, watching movies, driving cars, and leaving home. We quantize test scores to determine school grades. We quantize poverty, illness, pornography, speed limits, and allowed intoxication levels. And all of this makes it easier for humans to get along with each other, bureaucrats to do their job, and or to avoid the strain of having to make a judgment. But there is a price to pay because you would like to put on your coat, you would like to put on your coat when you feel cold, not because some temperature has been met. And it goes on and on with all of the quantized decisions. Persons receive welfare not because they need it, but because some arbitrary monetary income has been met. Students receive grades not based on true understanding of something, but because some arbitrary test score. And kind of with this in mind, it